Hello and welcome. This is Mr. Bureau. This is a quick note on how to get started using TinkerCad and some of the very basics that you're going to need to get started. So let's begin with looking at our work plane, which is this blue area right here. It's a standard 200 by 200, but we know that most of the printer beds are not that big. So you can reset the printer size, the bed size, using your settings. And right here, you just type in whatever size you would use. Now you'll notice that everything is in millimeters. You can actually change that if you want to by inches or millimeters, whichever's more comfortable to you. Okay, I prefer millimeters. It's simple and easy. Now with the squares, these blue squares, the larger blue line squares are 10 millimeter squares. Each individual square inside is a 1 millimeter square. Okay, so you got that down. Let's look at some of the controls that we have available. You have your rotation for view. You have your home button, so if you get goofed up, automatically click home. You have your highlight pane, your zoom in, zoom out, and then your flatten for your perspective. Okay, those two are taken care of. Up here on the top, you have copy, you have paste, and you have duplicate. And then you have trash. The difference between copy and duplicate is if I copy and paste it, you'll notice that the object goes right next to it, so I can easily move it. If I try to duplicate it, it's right inside the exact same spot that the original object was, and I would just grab it and move it away. Either way, whatever is more comfortable to you. Now you'll notice that when I have a box or item selected on the screen on the work plane, I get my properties for that object. And as you see here, you play around with the different elements, you will notice different changes happening to your object. Okay, each one has various properties that you can adjust to make things happen. Okay, so you can either do it over here, or you can grab these white corner anchors, these little squares right here, to adjust the size. So wherever you grab at, anywhere there's a white anchor will allow you to adjust the size. If you notice the white anchor on the top, this allows me to adjust the height going up and down. Okay. Now, when I turn my view, and you notice that I'm fairly level on the work plane, you'll notice that all my objects sit level or flush. There's no gap from the work plane to my object. That's because when this gets downloaded, and if the object is actually up off of the work plane, the printer, when I try to print that, would recognize that as part of your design and would think that you're trying to have a gap at that point and would try to not print this. So this would start printing here, okay, at this point in the layers. The rest of it would then just drop off because there's nothing to support it. Okay, so make sure that you're flush against there on the work plane, and that you take care of that simply just by using the cone at the top to move it down. And then you'll notice here on the side, this will tell me how high or low I am off the work plane. If I go negative, it means I'm below the work plane, like here. And if I'm above it, it will give me a positive number. So if I go above, and you'll see that there's a flat line under the arrow showing that it's that's taken care of. Okay. You see the colors. You can always change colors if you want to. It's easy to identify the different parts that you're working with. I like using the different colors when I'm working, when I'm putting stuff together, until I finally group everything. Then everything becomes one color. Up here on the top, you have your toggle for your visibility of notes. So if you want to create a note, you can create it, turn it on and off. Once you have more than one item selected, and just hold down your shift key, or you can hold down the mouse and select all of them at the same time, you would get the grouping, and then you can ungroup. So if I group something, it means I can ungroup it. Now, this thing here is my alignment tool, and I can align the objects any way I want to. I can center them from the middle of the objects. I can center them this way. I can center to the top whatever you choose to do, the objects will center left, right, top, and bottom. It's like alignment in a document, a Google Doc. You can use the align tool, everything at align left, align right, align center, however you decide to do it. Okay, import, export, and send. If you decide to try to import an object, you can bring it in, you would import, and you'd get a short menu up that would ask you, what do you want to do? Choose the file, go in, find the file, bring it in. As you notice, these are the objects that it will actually work with. STL file, an object file, or an SVG, which is a picture format, but it will work with it. Okay, so you could actually take a picture, upload it in, and TinkerCad would convert it. So that's what you got going on here. Now your objects over here, these are all your shapes that you can play around with. You can resize shape any one of the shapes you use. There is a whole menu selection of different objects you can choose, and you can do what's called shape generator that allows you to kind of play around with the shape itself, resizing, reshaping, doing different things to it. Okay, so if you start off with your basic shapes, these are all of them. Okay, you can go in and look at the different ones. That takes care of getting started with TinkerCad.